Education has changed dramatically during and after the Vietnam War. Many citizens of the United States were worried about the future of the students as we were not prepared to lead the world. Today, we are going to discuss the philosophical reasons, such as progressive education was a contributing factor to the losses in math and science education. We're going to discuss the curriculum and textbooks as they have changed dramatically during this time. Progressive education was an educational movement from John Dewey and became popular in the early 20th century. It allows flexibility in the learning procedures based on the needs of the students in the classroom. Dewey believed it would help students find their full potential and use their education for the greater good. But unfortunately, in the 1950s, the movement began to be blamed for the losses in math and science curriculum. It was explained that it was soft, especially after Sputnik was launched by Russia. They began having complaints of students missing the foundations of their education, as this was a student-centered classroom. Many people wondered if student-centered was the appropriate way to teach students, or should we go back to the teacher-based procedures? Progressive education has never gone away, but has had its moments of being great and low in the changes in education today. Our historical views. We're going to talk about the morale and how it changes our thinking. We're going to talk about the science curriculum and math curriculum and the changes. And we're also going to talk about textbook changes, especially in history, and an example of World War II. The morale of our country has had huge impact on how education changed. During the Vietnam War, our view went from American patriotic, being an all-American, to the anti-war movement. People lost their trust in the government and became anti-military. These feelings, as well as desegregation, caused students to protest to improve classroom conditions in the world around them. The students were no longer pro-American, but began believing in individualism. They did not believe well-educated people would win the war, as many questioned if we should even be at war. Our curriculum began changing as well. But before we talk about the curriculum, we're going to show you pictures of the morale in the World War II and the morale from Vietnam and how much it has changed. Our curriculum went from being patriotic and believing education would win the war to questioning our system. Even though there was a push during World War II on math and science, it occurred again as they were upset as we were beaten in the space race from Russia. The school began having African American and Native American curriculum being taught. The views went from one-sided to more realistic, which included multiple accounts of the same story. Our textbooks, especially history and social studies, changed dramatically. For example, the views on World War II changed even more. It went from textbooks showing that America was never perpetrator to showing the enemy in them. It included the enemy's point of view and included pictures of soldiers' emotional and mental status. The images changed the views before Vietnam War showed only crosses for deaths or generals or even transportation. Now we began seeing the images more detailed as there was pictures of death and battle scenes. Publishers and editors began being more in control of the textbook, and they quickly understand they needed to be more open with what they shared in the textbooks as they helped create a picture in the student's mind. War was no longer glamorous at this time. Education has changed dramatically between the wars as we went from huge dropout rates to huge enrollment numbers in universities. Many believe the enrollments came to keep students out of the draft during the war or from the GI Bill, which was given after World War II. The ever-changing curriculum and textbooks will help our students now reach their growth as it opens their minds to more situations.